We're a banana republic. We're a banana republic without the bananas. I know we've seemed increasingly like a banana republic in recent years. We have now become one. There has been all sort of saber rattling in recent years about how we need to lock up our political opponents. In fact, it was one of the most popular lines of Trump's 2016 race. Lock her up, lock her up. Great line during the debate. Hillary Clinton said, I don't want to live in Donald Trump's America. Trump said, yeah, because you'd be in jail. They got lots of cheers, but he didn't actually do it because conservatives said, we don't actually want to live in a country where we arrest the political opposition. We don't actually want to do that. It's a good line, and especially when it comes to someone like the Clintons, they have committed lots of crimes, but we're just going to err on the side of caution here. That is not a good look. That is what tin pot dictatorships do. So what do the libs do? They indict Trump. That's crossing the Rubicon, especially because Trump is not just a former president. He is the current chief rival to Joe Biden. He is the current leader of the political opposition, and our liberal ruling class is now arresting the leader of the political opposition because we are not a nation of laws. We are a nation ruled by the caprices of men, specifically of liberal men. When a mob comes into the Tennessee state capitol and disrupts the legislative session and walks on the floor of the capitol and says, no action, no peace, which is a direct threat of violence following a leftist terror attack in that very city just days before, coming up on, this is the day before, a planned day of vengeance, also by leftists, that's fine. That's a peaceful protest. That's applauded. The White House applauds that kind of action and stands with the transgender community, and that's all wonderful. The real victims, you know. But when some Midwestern grannies show up and get a police-guided tour of the Capitol in Washington, D.C., that's an insurrection. That's the worst coup d'etat ever in the history of the world. They've got to go sit in solitary confinement because our liberal ruling regime arrests political dissidents and now arrests the leader of the opposition. Can you believe that Vladimir Putin has arrested and jailed his primary political opposition in Russia? Yeah, I can believe that. I can. I see that thing happen all the time. Not just in Russia and China. I see that here too. It's exactly what the leftists are doing. Really sad for the country. Some of us thought the country was already pretty far gone, that this is simply the logical next step, the illogical next step of that. But it is good news for the Trump campaign. The story is about Trump. The liberals fear Trump. Rightly or wrongly, maybe you would say, well, some other candidate would make a better president. He would do more conservative things. Maybe. But it's about Trump. That's what it's about. He's offering a genuinely different vision than has been offered by Democrats or Republicans at any point in our entire lifetimes. At least in my lifetime. Some of you might be a little older than I am. Lady never tells. But he's the guy. It's about him. He's already got a big lead in the race. I suspect it's going to increase his popularity. Now, the question is, will it help him to win those early primary states? If he's wearing an orange jumpsuit, he's not going to be able to campaign in Iowa and New Hampshire. Crucially, he's probably going to have a harder time raising money. The grassroots will still give him more donations, but he's going to have a hard time raising money from the big donors who don't want to sink their money into someone who is potentially going to end up in prison. So it'll hurt his campaign in that regard. And the liberals are doing this to prevent him from becoming president again. There's another investigation into him in Georgia. They're going to try to throw him in jail in Georgia too. Also on bogus charges. Though not quite as absurd as the charges in New York. They're arresting the man for allegedly donating money to his own political campaign and not filing the correct paperwork 7 years ago. It's whatever charges Putin makes up to arrest his political opposition, whatever charges Xi Jinping makes up to arrest his political opposition, those charges are no more absurd than the charges the liberals are making up in America to arrest the political opposition here. There we are. The libs wanted to get rid of American exceptionalism. They did it. Congratulations, libs. And that's something. You remember that radical transgender group that responded to the shooting in Nashville by mourning the death of the shooter and insinuating that the real victims of the shooting were the transgender identifying people? Well, that's pretty much the White House position, too.
One of the things that we saw during the midterm elections is that people don't want their freedoms to be taken. They want us to fight for their freedoms. And so it is shameful, it is disturbing, and our hearts go out to the trans community as they are under attack right now.
The trans community, that's what's on. Our hearts go out to the trans community under attack after a transgender attack on little kids at a Christian school, where we still haven't seen the manifesto, but what the chief of police suggested was that gender ideology played a pretty big role in the attack. The real victims, the trans community. It's a bit that Norm Macdonald did. Norm Macdonald did a comedy bit that is now commentary from the White House spokesman. Norm's bit pertained to the real victims of the last wave of acts of terrorism.
I can't say my friend's name, but he said his biggest fear is that ISIS or some terrorist group like that would get a hold of a dirty bomb and explode it over a major city within the United States and kill tens of millions of people. Because then the blowback against innocent Muslims would be absolutely terrible.
Yeah, that's right.
That's true.
Okay, let's do some jokes.
That's true. Yeah, of course. That's true. Yeah, we agree. They don't know how to respond to Norm. The real tragedy would be the blowback against the peaceful Muslims. The real tragedy here, of course, is that some people now might not like transgenderism as much, or might not think it's true. The radicals always have to be the victim. They always have to be the victim. The radicals, our radical ruling class, and whichever group of people is being used as a tool of that radical ruling class, they have to be the victim. They could be attacking you. They could be committing an act of murder. They still have to be the victim. It is not possible for disfavored groups in America ever to be the victim. Christians, conservatives, white people, men, at least men who know that they're men, those people can never, ever be the victims. If they are attacked, they had to have brought it on themselves. If they are attacked, the real tragedy is going to be the blowback that never seems to happen, by the way, but the hypothetical blowback against whichever group performed the attack. That is not the conclusion of our ruling class. That is the premise. We've all seen it happen before. I'm not going to go through the rigmarole of, can you imagine if the shoe were on the other foot? Imagine if the roles were reversed. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't bring myself to do that, because that is going to be the epitaph on the gravestone of conservatism. But we see it constantly, and we see it here most clearly. There will never be an incident. It doesn't matter how extremely gruesome, morally clear that incident is. There will never be one for which the ruling class says that a disfavored group is actually the victim. We've got more to get to. We've got the written mailbag questions, the old school written mailbag questions. And then we've got Fake Headline Friday. Fake Headline Friday is where I need your help. Except I do not see my iPad. So I'm going to blame producer Jacob for that. But it's all happening now, so make sure you go to dailywire.com/subscribe, enter code Knowles. No, it's dailywire.com/Knowles. I don't know, there's all sorts of slashes and codes. Go to dailywire.com/Knowles, use code Knowles at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans.